Hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Today on rSpace, this isn't some action movie where the hero shrugs off getting clocked. Sometimes you've got to stand up, press charges, and remind everyone that tough doesn't mean punching bag. Cheating wife and affair partner attacked me. I knocked him out, and now she's begging not to press charges. I'm not writing this out to get clout online or anything like that. I'm sharing it here because this incident is so surprising that I really can't believe it actually happened. I need to document everything somewhere in case this goes to court or something, and this is the best place I could think of. I could have just dropped it in my notes app or sent an email to myself, but I could do with some advice from an objective observer too. Now for the context. I, 29 male, have been married to Emily, 28 female, for 4 years. We have a pretty simple life. No kids, no pets, just the two of us. We both work, and together we make a really good living. We can afford to live in a nice neighborhood and treat ourselves well. I can work long hours sometimes, but I always make an effort to show her attention and keep the romance alive in our relationship. Something important to know is that she works a hybrid position. She only needs to show up in the office 3 days a week, and she gets to spend the rest of the time working from home. It's a flexible arrangement too, so she can choose which days she wants to spend where, as long as she meets the 3-day requirement. That always sounded like a great deal to me. I hated going to the office. I loved my work, but transit was a drag, and we ended up staying late more often than not. So it was a surprise to her when I got home from work early one day. There was an issue with the building's HVAC during the hottest part of the year. Temperatures inside got hot enough that management was worried about liability if someone passed out, so we were all sent home early until the system was repaired. I appreciated the chance to get home and spend a little time with my wife. I knew this was one of the days when she worked from home, and I wanted to surprise her. I was usually late, and I thought she'd be thrilled to see me back at full 3 hours early. I figured she'd be in her home office, so she wouldn't hear me walk in the front door. When I walked in, though, something was off. It took a while before I could place it. It was a strong smell of men's cologne. I didn't use anything like that, and I knew for a fact that she didn't either. I knew for a fact that someone else had been at home, or was still there, but I didn't let myself jump to the worst conclusion. It could be a friend or a relative, but I also kept my mind ready for anything. Instead of going to her home office, though, I went to the bedroom. The door was half shut, and there were clothes all over the floor. Some of them were men's clothes, and they weren't mine. I knew what that meant, and I felt a lump in my throat. Emily was cheating on me, and even worse, the guy was right there in the room with her. I couldn't hear any sounds, but I didn't want to imagine what they could be doing in that moment. It was tempting to just turn around and use what I had seen as evidence of cheating. I don't really need to cuck myself to know she's cheating. I had to work up the courage to walk in there because I really didn't want to see what was on the other side of the door, but I knew I had to make 100% sure. Somehow, I had the presence of mind to start recording and ensure that I got everything on camera. When I walked in, I saw Emily lying in bed with another man. They were only cuddling when I walked in, but it was pretty obvious that they'd been up to the more involved activities just a little while ago. They were both completely naked and partially covered by the blanket on the bed. I couldn't help it. I swore loudly the moment I saw them. Emily yelped and pulled the blanket around herself, as if I didn't already know she was naked. The guy jumped out of the bed, grabbed a pillow to cover himself, and sank back against the wall. I didn't know him. His face wasn't even familiar. He was a skinny guy who looked like he was in his mid to late 30s. We all stared at each other for a while. The whole scene felt surreal. It's the kind of thing I've seen happen in movies and TV shows, but not for a second had I ever thought it would happen to me. I doubt I'd remember what happened next if I hadn't caught it on video. I was the first one to speak. I asked Emily to explain what was going on. It was stupid looking back at it. It was obvious what was going on. I think I just didn't know what to say. I mean, what can you say in that situation, especially when you didn't expect to walk in on that kind of scene only 2 minutes earlier? The entire day had spun on its head. Emily certainly couldn't think of anything to say because she kept opening and closing her mouth with not much sound coming out. The other guy was quiet. He started putting his clothes on, awkwardly maneuvering to keep the pillow in place so he didn't expose himself. I turned to the guy and demanded that he tell me who he was. His voice shook when he told me his name was Greg. He said he worked with Emily and claimed that he didn't know she was married. He sounded nervous when he spoke, which I understood. I'm not a physical specimen or anything, but I'm not a small guy either. I was close to half a foot taller than him, and I'm sure I had about 50 pounds on him. And right now, he could see that I was very, very angry. I told him I knew what he was lying to me. You don't work with someone and not know they're married. There were pictures of the two of us in the living room. He was trying to cover for himself. Now the guy was visibly agitated. He was squirming in place, and his eyes were darting back and forth like he was looking for an escape route. I didn't realize it at the time, but he probably thought he was in danger. If I'd figured that out, I would have been able to guess that he was likely to do something stupid. Instead, I turned my attention from him and spoke to Emily again. I asked her if this was what she was doing when I was out at work. She just cried, but it wasn't the type of crying you get when someone is sad or regrets what they've done. She was ugly crying, sobbing loudly and hiding her face. She was panicking because she'd been caught. I'm sure she was just as scared as Greg was, if not even more so, since she was the one who had directly betrayed me. She started rambling about how it didn't mean anything and it was just a stupid mistake. She stretched out her hand for me to take it and said I should sit down so we could talk. The idea of touching her hand after she just had sex with another guy made my skin crawl. I was tired of the whole thing and told her to pack her stuff. I'd already turned around to walk out when Greg ran up and sucker punched me. I only heard it at the very last moment, so it took me by surprise, and he got me a few more times before I could recover. I don't know why he thought that was the move to make. Emily was screaming now, and she jumped out of bed to get between us. Unfortunately for Greg, he'd wasted his advantage. He'd hit me with a few punches, but they didn't really hurt much. On the other hand, I was a lot bigger than him, and really pissed off. I was still holding my phone in my left hand when I hit him with a right hook. He went down after I hit him a second time. Emily, who was hysterical now, jumped on my back, telling me to leave him alone. She was screaming, "You're gonna kill him!" That was a huge overreaction. I was pissed, but I felt I was in control enough to stop hitting a man who was down. I tried to get her off of me, but she was clinging on. When I felt her claw at my face, though, I couldn't help it. I flung her off of me, and luckily, she landed on the bed, though she almost bounced off of it. I couldn't believe that my wife had just attacked me to defend the man that she was sleeping with. I don't know if it was instinctual or whether she had really thought it through, but I was actually astounded by the side she picked. I touched my face where she'd scratched me, and I could see small drops of blood. It was already starting to sting. It wasn't a deep cut, but that wasn't the point. My wife had clawed my face in defense of a man who sucker punched me in my own home. Greg was on the floor holding his jaw. He wasn't unconscious, but he wasn't in a rush to get up either. I wasn't worried about the possibility of a round two from him. Emily was sitting on the edge of the bed with a blanket around her. She was staring at my cheek and realizing what she'd done. She started pleading with me not to call the police. She said it was all a misunderstanding that had gotten out of hand. She said she had meant to tell me about Greg. Then she said she hadn't meant to hurt me, but she was scared because I was hurting Greg. She was barely coherent because she was trying to apologize for the assault and the infidelity at the same time. It was actually pathetic, in hindsight. I pointed out that Greg was the one who had hit me first, multiple times. I wasn't a threat to him at that point, so his hitting me was a very stupid decision on his part. I just defended myself like I had the right to do. I reminded her that I was recording everything, and the police would be interested in seeing my video when they arrived. Her eyes widened at that, and she started pleading with me again, but I just turned around and left the room. I called the police as soon as I got to the front door. The police didn't take long to get there, and I explained the situation to them. I already had welts on my face from where Emily scratched me. My face was also starting to swell a little where Greg had punched me. He wasn't as weak as I thought. I pointed out the injuries to the officers and also let them know I had the video of the whole situation. They asked me if anyone was injured or in danger. I told them no, but I emphasized that I'd been assaulted in my own home, and the people who attacked me were still inside. The police went into the house and came out a few minutes later with Greg in handcuffs. Emily came out too, wearing a hoodie and sweatpants. She tried to run over to me, but one of the cops pulled her back and led her towards a car. She kept saying she was sorry and that things didn't have to go this far. Just like before, she kept calling it a misunderstanding. When the police asked if I wanted to press charges, Emily panicked and started pleading again. She said she acted without thinking and that she didn't mean to hurt me. She'd begged me to reconsider and said I was going to ruin her life. I told the officers that I'd think about it. I really wanted to give it some thought before I decided what to do. I'm still thinking about it. I'm certain that I'm going to press charges against Greg. I'm sure some people might say he's a victim here, but he knew I was married, and he attacked me in my own home. I'm not sure about Emily, though, and that's where I could use some help. I already have friends and family calling me an a-hole for getting her arrested. I can only imagine what they'd think if I pressed charges. Would it be a good idea to stir the pot even more by doing what I can to put her away? It'll feel good, that's for sure, but I don't want to do something that'll be more trouble than it's worth. Update 1. Thanks for all the comments and support on my first post. I wasn't expecting so many people to weigh in, but I'm glad I posted. I appreciate all the input. It gave me a lot to think about, and it gave me some help in figuring out my next steps. So here's how things are going. First, Greg is going to be charged with assault. He spent some time in jail, but was released on bail while he waits for his trial. He tried to claim it was self-defense, but the video Ray recorded shows otherwise. In the video, even though I wasn't filming the scene anymore, it was clear that I was walking away when I was struck and all the commotion started. That alone killed his whole story. The police let Emily go, but that was only because I hadn't decided whether to press charges. But after getting some advice, I made my decision. When I found out that her being charged would give me a leg up in the divorce, it became a no-brainer. I told the police that I wanted to press charges, and that was that. That was a really polarizing decision, though. People in my life have been split on what I decided to do. My parents were unhappy with my decision, but they're in support of me. Her parents have decided I'm a monster for deciding to press charges against their sweet angel. Their reasoning is that I'm a man, so there's no way she could hurt me. I've stopped answering their calls and responding to their messages. I don't care what anyone thinks about what I did. I was the victim of a crime, and I chose the option that would best protect me. Some people asked if she showed any signs of cheating before this. Not really. There was a bit of distance between us, but I just wrote it off as general stress. We hadn't even been arguing recently. Maybe she was just really good at hiding her affair, or maybe her thing with Greg was just newer than I thought. One thing that became clear to me, though, is that she doesn't respect me. If she did, she never would have done any of this. The cheating was one thing, but attacking me to protect her affair partner? That was a whole new level. She deserved whatever she got. Even now, all of her apologies feel hollow. Everything she says to me feels like an attempt to damage control. She doesn't care about what she did to me. She's just worried that her reputation is at stake. Our marriage is over, and I'm done with her. I've spoken to a lawyer, and we've gotten started with the process of filing for divorce. I'm going all out against her. This woman cheated on me and attacked me. There's no way I'm settling anything amicably. And I'm definitely not paying any alimony. I'll play the footage of her cheating on me in court if I have to, but I refuse to not come out on top after what she's done. Update 2. It's been a while since my last update, but I just wanted to check back in with the recent developments. It's mostly for closure, but also, I thought this could help anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation. The divorce is moving along, my lawyer really knows what he's doing, and between the footage and the police report, we've got a pretty solid case. Emily has tried to push back on some terms, but once her lawyer saw the full video, the resistance pretty much died. I'm sure her lawyer let her know that she really didn't have a leg to stand on. My lawyer filed for a restraining order just in case. I don't really think it was necessary, but it sent the message to the court that we considered her a threat. To Emily, it was a message that let her know I wasn't playing around. Greg's court date is coming up soon, and I'm pressing the full weight of the charges. I've had a lot of time to think about it, and the fact that he sucker punched me after sleeping with my wife felt like a personal insult. I couldn't let that slide, and I was ready to use every legal right I had to make sure they both paid for it. As for Emily, I think she's starting to come to terms with her new reality. She stopped trying to convince me to take her back. I'm sure she sees just how hopeless it is now, but she still calls and texts me to try to convince me to change my mind about the charges. At first, she tried to get me to reconsider things for both of them, but when she noticed how mad I got whenever she mentioned Greg, she stopped bringing him up. Now, when she texted me, it was just to beg me to drop the charges on her alone. Things didn't go well for both of them at work. Word got out that she'd been sleeping with a coworker, and it led to an assault charge. I heard there was an internal investigation. I'm not sure what the results were, but I know Greg resigned, and Emily got moved to a different department. A fun bit of irony is that she lost the remote privileges that made it possible for her and Greg to have their affair in the first place. Funny how things work out. What hurts the most about the whole thing, honestly, isn't the cheating. Obviously, that sucks, but what really hurt was the betrayal. The moment I realized that the woman I loved and trusted more than anyone else was physically attacking me for another man. She'd chosen a stranger over me in every possible way. That's the part that has been the hardest to move past. Even though I've started to move on from Emily, the act has scarred me in a way that I don't think I'll be able to move on from in any time soon. Violence is violence, whether you're a man or a woman, and you deserve to be taken seriously if you're a victim. That's important for anyone to know, but I think it's especially critical for men, since we live in a society where our problems are often overlooked. Don't let anyone make you question your right to self-respect and safety. Don't be afraid to speak up and demand to be taken seriously. You don't have to be the tough guy all the time. It's not like the assault caused me a significant amount of physical pain, but the intent behind it was all I needed to know that I wanted to press charges. If you find yourself in a similar situation, do the right thing. That's what I can say about all of this. Recording everything and pressing charges was definitely the right move. That video pretty much shuts down any self-defense story, so it's clear you did nothing wrong. Her half-hearted apologies are just trying to save face, not making things right, and you're smart for seeing that. And it sounds like your lawyers got your back, and the restraining order was a smart play, even if you didn't feel it was totally necessary. It sends a message that you mean business, and that's what matters. Also, society can be blind to male victims, so thanks for speaking up about that. You don't have to be the tough guy all the time. Your safety and respect comes first. What do you make of all this? Share your thoughts with us below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time,